So, hi everyone. My name's Sam Hirst, and this is my story, The Blood on Her Lips. Um, okay, it's a first-person story, like many of my stories are, exploring kind of supernatural and queer identities and working those things together. So, I won't lie, the brains thing is damned inconvenient. I've always been a bit of a texture eater, picky, if you must know. I wasn't that big a meat eater before all this, and I never liked the feel of flesh between my teeth, and sweetbreads were definitely off the cards. There's a chewiness to them that, it's frankly disturbing, but surviving on brains of any variety is hardly how I envision my future. The other downside of the brains thing, except the obvious gastronomical issues, is the sheer inconvenience of daydreaming about giving your friends a quick nibble every time you're hungry. I keep myself going on sheeps, pigs, cows, rabbits, squirrels, and on particularly lean days, rats. If it's been a few days, though, I mean, a lie, sometimes it's a few hours, I find myself struggling to concentrate on the words coming out of Sarah's mouth in favor of a definite fixation on the lips themselves. And not in a sexy way. There's nothing sexy about having your lips chewed off by your soulmate because they got a mite peckish. Soulmate might be pushing it, of course. There's a definite school of thought that suggests that I don't have a soul at all anymore. The hellfire preacher who threw us out of the last town would have certainly said so. Ungrateful bastard. We left town on the edge of a pitchfork, and that was after we'd rid them of the coven of brain eaters who'd had them all trapped behind closed doors and twitching curtains with their hands wrapped together in futile prayers. Well, maybe not futile. Perhaps I'm an instrument of their god. Didn't seem to matter much, though, when they realised what I am. Most people cast us all in the same pot, but it's decidedly unfair. Eating people's a choice. It's not one I've ever understood. I mean, sure, I get the temptation. Sarah looks absolutely fucking delicious towards evening at the end of a long day's walk without stopping to eat. And again, not in a sexy way, more in a literal, I sort of want to rip your arm off and stick it right in my face kind of a way. However, I never actually do it, obviously. I mean, we don't need to eat people. We need brains and blood and flesh, but it doesn't matter what sort. Why you'd voluntarily turn monsters a mystery to me, but some of the turned go that way. Well, most of them, if I'm honest. You can tell I'm not one of them, though. I've got no bits falling off. That's what happens when you start in on the human flesh. You get that high, I guess, but you start falling to pieces. People like that preacher, though, aren't much good at seeing the obvious. They'd rather think I was the devil by nature than that their precious mother had voluntarily tried to rip their faces off. Sarah was like that a bit when we met. I'd rushed in, all heroic, ready to rescue her from the coven that surrounded her, and she'd stabbed me in the stomach. Not gonna lie, I'd been pretty pissed off about it. It took an "Oi, what do you think you're playing at?" though for her to realise I was on her side. Then we were back to back and soon enough surrounded by a little field of twice dead corpses. She's a fast one, my Sarah. Smart as a tack, and with the swiftest hands I've ever seen. She can weave magic out of the air with steel, wield those blades like poetry, though with significantly more deadly force. We travelled together after that, living and dead. She's never paid any mind to it. She doesn't much like it when I get real hungry and start ripping heads off, but otherwise she takes it remarkably well. We didn't get to soulmates fast. Were neither of us the loving type, as it goes. I don't remember if I ever was, but certainly not now. Funny how these things creep up on you, though. One day you're getting stabbed in the gut, and then someday down the line, you're watching some dickhead try and take a bite out of her, and you realize that you'd kill any motherfucker who touched her, alive or dead. That if she died, you wouldn't be that hot on living any longer. That everything makes sense when you're sitting in that comfortable silence right after your very different dinners, or when you're passing signals in the dark as you sneak through some zealot's land, or when you're sat slumped against each other in the wagon after a hard fight and she starts to sing one of those bawdy ballads she picked up God knows where. That everything makes sense when she's there, but nothing would make sense without her. The others in the group don't quite get it, I reckon. We've picked up more strays on the way, all living. They don't mind me, they're friends, but they know I'm dead. Sarah never seems to get it. To her, I'm alive as anyone else. The others won't touch me, and they get real shifty when I start to get that feral gleam, looking a bit too long at necks and noses and the sweet shape of curving skulls. But Sarah, Well, she just gives this exasperated sigh and hands me a rabbit or a squirrel or a rat that she's saved up. I feel like a gangly teenager always on the hunt for snacks rather than the monster everyone seems to fear I am. And while I'm eating, she'll lean against me, listening to the silence of my blood. And I feel her heartbeat run right through me from where our arms touch. And she'll kiss me with blood still on my lips as though it doesn't matter. All in all, this life ain't so bad. Not what you'd call paradise, although one day it might be if we can get away from it all, and away from the ones who've made themselves monsters, dead or alive. Still, the brains thing is damned inconvenient.